Hi, my name is Victor Mercader, and this is my Wwise Showreel. I will be presenting a glimpse at the steps and tasks involved into creating and implementing the sounds designed for the dark world of the video game Cube using Wwise. The first task involved was to create an asset sheet necessary to stay organized by listing all the sounds and events involved, keeping tracks of sounds to be worked on and finalized sounds. I started the game's sound design by implementing the ambiences of the game. The first task takes place outside in a swamped area, where I recorded a lake by my house along other outdoor sounds like bugs and many others. An event area was first created in the code, then implemented Wwise in order to map the sound into its designated outdoor area to be triggered when the player steps onto the zone. The following area is an abandoned sewer. I wanted the player to perceive an unsettling and creepy feel throughout this area. The atmosphere was created through synthesis, water drops, and various other sounds. A different method was performed to trigger this ambience. An event was created to trigger and play in this ambience. At the same time, it set its appropriate volume and gently stops all other ambiences from other rooms in case of crossing from room to room. Here it shows the coded event being implemented into its selected trigger zones. The next ambient area is inside the control room. The control room is much quieter than other zones, with a subtle room tone in which you can hear the events and monsters nearby. The same steps were followed to trigger this ambient space. The code was then implemented within its required triggered zone. The machine room. Its unique ambience was triggered in the same style as the others. The machine room was designed with various recorded power units, machinery, and absinthe. The last room of this level is the flooded sewer. This has a larger subtonic tone alongside gentle water and metal squeaks. 4 reverberations areas were first written into the game's code. 4 different reverbs were created, each with its own unique depth according to the room size. Auxiliary sends were created for each reverb. Each reverb send then routed to a designated reverb area to be triggered through the RTCP in Wwise. At last, the reverb environment's code was implemented within the chosen zones. The first monster design was the Goblin. The Goblin is evil and very small. With this in mind, I recorded my own voice and subtle processing. The Goblin's weapon is a green energy foreshadowing, designed with massive and heavily processed. The files were implemented in Wwise within a random container. For less repetition, a pitch randomizer was activated to vary the pitch of the 4 variations. A hit sound was also designed and triggered for when the shots hit. The Ogre is an ugly and somewhat confused looking monster. This was done by grabbing a bear's roar and manipulating its pitch. The Ogre's weapon is a fireball. It was created with a mix of heavily processed fireballs, flamethrowers, guns, and others. Rhino, a small robotic enemy. I recorded myself for the initial attacking voice with heavy robotic processing. Intense synthesis and plugins were also used for when the Rhino dies. Rhino's weapon was made with the idea of a robotic laser gun. Bao, the biggest monster in the game. I recorded a Fred doing an evil laugh and pitched down for when Bao is first introduced. For when he dies, I mix my friend's screaming voice with the lion's roar to add thickness. Bao's weapon is a powerful fireball. After creating its sound, 3 singular parts were implemented separately into Wwise. Firing the weapon, the hits, and the thrusts, managed by the Wwise volume RTCP and triggers. Health pack number 1. This was made using various recordings and samples of small mechanical tools and breaths to interpret opening the pack and sound of relief. The health bottle. The extra power item makes the player's weapons more powerful. The teleporter. This item consists of 2 singular sounds. The static sound triggered through a volume RTCP considering how close or far you are from the sound. and then the sound trigger when you go through it. The brown item is more powerful. I wanted to give it a sense of extra power by adding synthetic processing. Machine gun ammo. For this I wanted to get a realistic sound, but with the feeling of the player is grabbing and loading a large sum of bullets. The rocket launcher ammo is big and powerful. I recreated that thought by combining samples of recordings of cash registers. The main player's weapon is a shotgun. It was designed combining various gun samples from my libraries. The sounds were organized and separated by high, mid, and low frequencies within Pro Tools. Each frequency range had 3 initial variations imported into separate random containers. A pitch randomizer was then activated for each sound samples, and then an extra pitch randomizer for each random container group. The second part of the shotgun includes pumping the gun after each shot. I used a very similar approach as the ammo item here, but added extra layers and parts to match the visuals. For the shells dropping, I recorded actual shotgun shells using my girlfriend's stat shotgun. I recorded the shells dropping in different materials like concrete, wood, and others. I put the shells in a child random container within a parent switch container. An event to fire the shotgun was created, involving all 3 random containers of separate frequency fire shots. The event also included the shell switch container with a half-second delay. At last, the pump sound with 0.4 delay to match the visual. The rocket launcher consists of 4 parts. 1. The main body of the shot consisting of explosions, cannons, and guns with some processing effects. The metal front piece of the weapon that rotates as it fires. Third, the fire thrust. And at last, the explosion hits at the end. The parts were brought into Wwise, each with their own random containers with variations. A fire launcher event was created, triggering the main shot, and both the thrust and rotator with specific delays after the fire shots. For the player's voice, I simply recorded myself acting out the death voices, jumping, and being hurt. For the footsteps, a parent switch container was created. Within it, child sequence containers were added with left steps and right steps triggering in sequence. The footsteps were recorded in different ground materials. Each ground material assigned to a designated material in a parent switch container. For the player's health state, my own recorded breath along heartbeats at different speeds and an eerie high-pitched sound were all added to a blank container. The volume of these sounds increases as the health level decreases. The speed of the heart also speeds up the lower the health level is. A low-pass filter also triggers with the health state and filters out all surrounding sounds. There are 3 music cues that trigger according to the room. In the sewer rooms, a fast-paced music cue is activated in the spots where the monsters notice the players. The music for these rooms was made using heavily processing guitar feedbacks and bows along contact rooms. The control room's music is a more modern style to match its technological ambience. The music was composed with massive and contact. Again, trigger inside the control room. The machine room's attack music consists of a distorted, grungy piece that adds a sense of action. The death stinger takes place when the player is killed. The stinger is activated by the event Game Over Killed, triggered by the kill trigger. I made this event stop all other sounds and music and only play the stinger and Bow's laugh. When you win the level, a trigger is activated by the Game Over Win event, which stops all sounds but a new stinger designed by me. My name is Victor Mercader. Thank you for watching my Wwise showreel for the game Cube.